feeling like I'm Akademiks.
Voicemail left on so they're talking about the threats, right? So people were saying, I know it says, yo, if they get life, it's going to be blah, blah. Okay. Anything. So they logged some things under seal. And then the next thing that's important here, people, the next thing that's important is this, which I'm actually surprised that there's a Durk page I got this. This wasn't even me. Got to be honest. But this, I believe, is under seal or something of the sort because I do not see it on the docket currently. But this is document 230. No matter what it says, this is information that is filed by OTF Dede. He wants to get his case away from Durk and everybody else, which, by the way, on face value, people might think he's snitching. No, he's not. He wants to just separate his shit to say, hey, only give me evidence that got to do with me. Don't bring me evidence because in any type of conspiracy, even murder for hire, which is, again, is conspiracy, just not RICO, they could use that someone else's evidence against you because they're claiming it's a conspiracy. A conspiracy is everybody's in the know of what's going on and they're all planning to commit a crime, which means they might have a conspiracy. They might have statements or something that got to do with somebody else. But if they're claiming you're in a conspiracy and they have other proof that is the quote unquote connective tissue to the conspiracy, they could use those evidence that got nothing to do with you to convict you. So Dede wants to be taken out of the case, that he can't be used against Durk, but also Durk can't be used against him. Now, obviously, I've seen pages kind of looking at it and say, oh, this is sus. No, it's both ways. He doesn't want Durk stuff to be used against him, but he doesn't want him to be used against Durk. How does this benefit Durk? If Dede gets out of the case, remember, the connective tissue to the two shooters that only Dede knows that Durk doesn't know, how could Durk order two niggas that he don't know to kill somebody? They need Dede. So if Dede gets to sever his case, they truncate some of these allegations against Durk because you don't have the proper amount of proof that Durk actually ordered a shooting because he don't know some of these niggas who allegedly did the shooting. Hope you guys are following. My dogs are making some noise. I might have to go get them in a second. Chat, I'm still wired even though I'm still off the liquor. Hopefully you guys are keeping up. Are we good? Are we good? Is this boring? Tell me if this is boring. Tell me if this is boring. This is going to hit on YouTube because, you know, the dudes on YouTube like everything. They like it really, you know, fully, but I know you guys sometimes just want some entertainment. It's 2:30 in the morning, y'all. It's 2:30 in the morning, y'all. Let me see what y'all saying. Let me see what y'all saying. Too much? Is it too much? Boring? Y'all could keep it a bean. If it's boring, it's boring. It is what it motherfucking is. Okay? I'm trying to go through it that you guys know everything these lawyers know. By the way, also, I want to say this to you. I in no way, shape, or form consider myself a lawyer or anything of the sort, but I will tell you this. I do believe that the legal process, they make it more complicated because a lot of most legal rules and most legal terms come from Latin and a lot of traditional things. It makes it seem like you need somebody smart to put it like this. Chat, Rock Nation paid $100,000 for lawyers, and they're not smarter than me and you. I promise you. They might know more terms. They might have more knowledge of particular case law that is historic because they've read up on it, but the law isn't that, you know, complex. So, you know, my job here for you guys is to try to explain it in layman's terms and give you like realistic opinions. But people act like law is like so like, you know, the boogeyman, right? Like it's not. You know what I mean? It's like you guys are smart enough to be in here to make up your own opinion. You could do law. It's just that it requires you to know certain terminology and kind of like put some study in, which, you know, obviously we're busy, right? Okay, anyway, so let's get through this. So you kind of understand. Do you understand? I think you guys are smart, so I don't have to treat you guys like kids. So this idea that OTF Dede wants to sever his trial doesn't mean he's snitching on Durk. Is that this is a really important strategy. You're the connective tissue to some of the people. Because, again, this is a conspiracy. Remember in a conspiracy, remember when we talk about RICO, there was called overt acts and predicate acts? An overt act is an act that by itself is not criminal. I bought ski mask. Is that a criminal thing? You can't charge me for that. Now, if I bought ski mask and gloves and duct tape and then I give it to the person that eventually kidnapped somebody and while they were in a ski mask, gloves, and they duct tape the person, now it's probably a conspiracy that I either knew if they could show that I was aware of the crime. Do you understand? You guys do understand. I know you guys are smart. So essentially, severing the case helps Durk. Helps Durk and helps Dede because now you got to prove both of them guilty on their separate things. Remember, the government is claiming Dede, and clearly Dede ain't flip yet. They're claiming Dede was the key. Dede recruited the people, and Dede's claiming, say, what the fuck? Recruit? I ain't recruit nobody for nobody. Get me out of this case. I ain't got nothing to do with Durk. Now, don't be fooled to think when he say I don't got nothing to do with Durk, he's trying to snitch on Durk. He's just saying prove your case without acting like Durk told me to do nothing because I don't know that nigga ain't tell me nothing to do and I ain't do nothing for him. Exactly what you should claim. Trust. So let's read through it a little bit, okay? Okay, to the honorable court. So this is Dede's motion, right? So he wants to separate his case, right? It's 6 people. They're going to tie Vonnie to Durk. Vonnie and Durk is on the plane, right? Dede is the third person. There's about 6 people involved in this, right? They're a co-conspirator 4. He was a lookout. He was a local dude. Co-conspirator 2 is a shooter that supposedly Dede knew. There's another nigga who got locked up, but he's a shooter as well. So, but only Dede knew that person. So apologize. Durk is only connected to this through Vonnie. You can't erase Vonnie because he came on the same private jet as Vonnie, right? There could be some reasonable assumptions that whatever, even though that's still way beyond the pale of what's necessary to trial, which is beyond a reasonable doubt. So let's look at this again. A win for Durk is if Wilson, aka Dede, could separate his case because they can't use Wilson against Durk. They can't use Durk against Wilson. Perfect, right? This is, like put it like this. If I'm the boss and the wizard is my shooter, or not shooter, but like my second in command. If I tell him, yo, we need 3 niggas whacked, and he said, I bet, say less. I'm about to go get them. I'm about to go get the niggas to do it. I'm gonna go whatever. Yo, you got the bread? I send him some bread, or I'm talking to him. That's how the bread going. Whatever. Cool. They charge all of us for a murder. When we get to trial, I want my case separate from him. Why? Because I'm saying I don't know no wizard. He's an AI. He's an AI. I never told him to do nothing. If he did something, he did that. If I did something, I did that. He's going to be saying the same thing. We're both saying the same thing. Without them linking us together, they can't prove the crime. Do you get what I mean? Do you? Exactly. Okay, great. So let's read through this. To the honorable court and all parties in their counsel of record, defendant DeAndre Wilson, which is OTF Dede, by his counsel Craig A. Harbaugh. And by the way, chat, I do know we have a powerful media company and media situation here. So like, I got to, because I love Durk. So chat, if this is structured in the way it's structured, all these lawyers filing for these guys should be filing under the direction of, all right, because it's over, I'll use that. All them other lawyers, Brian Steele controlled the show. Do you get what I mean? You get what I mean, right? You guys are smart. When Brian Steele say, everybody moves. If that didn't happen, Doug would have probably went down. Again, with most of these situations, the government is calling y'all a team. Now, granted, it's a conflict of interest for you to have one lawyer control everybody. But if y'all don't somehow at least acknowledge what the other quote-unquote team member, even if y'all claim you're not a team, you're not a gang, you're not a whatever, you got to understand what other people are doing. Because if you claim one thing and they claim another thing, i.e. Gunna saying, yeah, we are a gang. And you're like, whoa, nigga, we were saying we're not a gang. You get fucked. So in most of these cases, the money, man, you got to have your lawyer, wink, wink, blah, 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 blah. Y'all do what, you get what I'm saying, right? We spelling it without spelling it, There we go. You guys are smart. So I have to believe this doesn't get filed without the acknowledgement and understanding that this is a good chess play that helps not only Dede, but Durk. You guys are smart. So defendant Wilson, Dede, through his counsel Craig, moves his court for order severing his trial from that of co-defendant Durk Banks. and any other defendant whose trial are joined with Banks. Remember, he only mentioned Durk. Why? Because that's the crux of their case. This motion is made pursuant to blah, 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 da, 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 on the ground that a joint trial would be compelling and incurable prejudice to Dede as a result of prejudicial spillover from extensive other acts, evidenced noticed by the government that overwhelming concerns that Mr. Banks and alleged actors would not be admissible against Mr. Wilson if he was tried alone. Bingo. So what they're doing is they're attacking the idea of the conspiracy. Keep in mind, murder for hire is a conspiracy. You know, if you look up, this is Department of Justice. This is Department of Justice. This is what it says. Conspires. This is in the definition. Conspiracy. What conspiracy is on its base value is two individuals who knew they were doing a crime. They agree to do the crime together, and whether one fired the gun and one bought the bullets, or one set the person up and the other one lined him up and killed him, who gives a fuck? Y'all conspired. So conspiracy is a base thing. Don't think that only RICO is conspiracy. RICO is a organizational conspiracy, right? So as organizations try to, like, RICO is the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations Act, right? Which means it's usually that there is an enterprise and there's an organization that is being, and by the way, a RICO could have applied here because OTF, here's the thing. Two of the people got nothing to do with OTF. The killers got nothing to do with OTF. Now, I'm pretty sure maybe in grand jury, or maybe it'll come later, they're going to have this conversation. Well, it's still a RICO. It's still a RICO if the organization hired two niggas outside the organization to commit the murder. However, that's probably harder to prove because there's multiple levels here. And I think that the government didn't want to overreach, and they said, well, the applicable thing here that also carries a mandatory, and the only reason why, I'll say this, and again, I'm not a legal expert, I'm giving my opinion here, but I believe if no one died, he gets hit with a RICO. Because someone died, they just hit him with murder for hire. Who cares about the RICO? Because murder carries life, especially a murder conspiracy. So don't do a RICO. Just do murder for hire because that's more of a direct thing, right? If no one died, but somebody got shot or there was an attempt, you go RICO. But because someone died, you go murder for hire because in RICO, it's a burden upon you to prove that all of these people are operating within an enterprise. Murder for hire doesn't care about an enterprise or organization, even though OTF is a thing. Like, you know, Durk's thing is going to be like, well, y'all say two of the shooters. We don't know them niggas. They're not OTF. Doesn't matter in a murder for hire. In a murder for hire, we got them on camera. They did the murder. We could prove that they were told by these people and those people were moving under the direction of Durk. Murder for hire. Damn, my dog is gonna. I might have to get him in a second. All right. Oh my God. Yeah. You know, Whack hit me. Yeah. Want me to call you? Give me 15 minutes with this Durk shit. Hey, all right, Whack want me to call him. I'm gonna have to go get my dogs, chat. I can't even lie to you. Like, they're barking a little bit too much. Let me go grab him. I'm still wired. I'm not even going to drink no more. Let me play a little bit of this while I go get them. I don't know why they're barking. Law and crimes. Let me play this. I'm going to go get them real quick, and then we're coming right back to this. This is a really important document, chat. Really important. And by the way, Drill, you should cut this to a independent clip. Especially this Dede stuff, because some people believe Dede's flipping on him. No, this is part of the strategy, and I guarantee that Durk's lawyers, if we come on, like, we don't have to spell it out. This is all quarterback, right? The money man is quarterbacking everything, just like Brian Steele quarterbacked everything for everybody else on that case, right? Okay. Oh my God, my dog. Let's get down to a little bit. So here's the motion, and then they basically do a few things. Here's the intro. They want to, remember, sever the cases of Dede and Durk because they're using Dede against Durk, and they're saying whatever it is. Okay, so let's see some of the background and some of the stuff like that, right? All right. Okay, these are just like, regular stuff. Now, we're going to get to some information. So here's the argument, right? The argument is that Dede's disputing the adequacy and admissible of the rule. So as an initial matter, Dede's disputing the adequacy and admissibility of the prosecution's Rule 404 notice in the entirety. He doesn't agree that a notice satisfies the procedure requirements, and the government has sufficient proof to establish an act as described, or that the alleged conduct is properly attributed to Mr. Banks or to any defendant. Mr. Wilson likely does not concede that these allegations are admissible under that rule in any trial. To be clear, Mr. Wilson preserves his objections to sufficiency and admissibility of this notice and joins a separate motion in seeking to exclude this evidence in full. So there's another motion going on to exclude certain evidence that they want thrown out. And so nevertheless, if any portion will be admitted against Durk, it would be patently unfair. Mr. Wilson will be forced to defend himself before a jury saturated with evidence that by the government's own account has nothing to do with him. The sheer disparity between the evidence against Mr. Banks and the absence of comparable evidence against Mr. Wilson compels severance in order to protect his right to a fair trial. Okay, what does that mean? Let me break it down in layman's terms. They're saying, yo, we seen the discovery. Y'all claim y'all got mad evidence against Durk. Oh, Durk was encouraging murder against this. Durk was doing this. Durk was doing that. Like, it's a lot of circumstantial stuff, right? Because they're claiming this is part of the conspiracy. Dede's saying, show me the proof that I had a reason to go kill this nigga. Like, y'all got no evidence against me. So if y'all claim, like, all the evidence I'm seeing is against Durk, he's not throwing Durk under the bus. He's saying, take me out of it. Get me out of the group chat. Put me out of the group chat, because if I'm his co-defendant and they got a rule on all of us, and I'm going to be prejudiced by the fact that most of y'all evidence is only against him, not against both of us. Again, it looks like he's going against Durk, but he's not. In reality, what he's doing is he's saying, try me separate. I'm telling you, trying them separate helps Durk, because they don't fully have Durk without snitches and without connecting Dede. One of the snitches, which is co-conspirator 2, which is a shooter, he can't say Durk gave him nothing. You know what he gonna say? Dede told me, but Dede told me Durk said it. So that's why you get Dede out of there. So that shooter, you're dumb now. Like, we don't give a fuck about what you said. Oh, Dede told me, but you can't mention Durk no more. That's the point. That's the point, chat. All right, I'm gonna have to get these dogs, chat. I'm not gonna camp with you. Let me play this real quick, and then I will be right back. Please don't go nowhere. We got 6,000 people at this time, almost 3 o'clock, on King Akademiks. Holy! Please do not go nowhere. I gotta go get these dogs. Wow, we're actually rocking tonight. I feel like y'all miss me, but I really miss. Somebody said I'm on the purest Adderall. No, I drank the whole bottle of coffee. I'm like wired, right? Yeah, I drank a little liquor, but I don't know if y'all watch all my streams, bro. I get wired off coffee, and I could break down legal shit, but once I get lit, I could only talk shit. I ain't gonna lie, like that's my kryptonite. Like, if I was beefing with a nigga and I'm drunk, I'll violate and smoke him. But like breaking down criminal documents, I'm done, because this takes focus and like really analysis, which liquor kills for me. I won't lie to you. Give me 1 second though. Please do not go anywhere. I'm gonna play 1090 Jake's video, who kind of talks about this a little bit more. I'm grabbing my dogs. Give me about 4 minutes. 4 minutes. I'll be back. Okay?
At this point, I don't know if Durk's case is getting better or worse. Just days ago, paperwork dropped that had everyone thinking this might be good. Durk's 4 lawyers, led by legal powerhouse Drew Finling, filed a motion to dismiss the entire indictment. But they didn't just attack the indictment, they targeted LA's top federal prosecutor, Bilal Isaili. Durk's team would ask the courts to dismiss the indictment due to the unlawful designation of Isaili as the U.S. Attorney of California and the unlawful appropriation of funding to the office he leads, and to disqualify Isaili and any of the attorneys working under his supervision or paid with funds he has wrongfully received. Now this is what happens when you pay your lawyer the big bucks. They do their motherfucking homework. Issaili was sworn in on April 2nd, 2025, but several federal public defenders have filed motions against him to dismiss him and his team. He's accused of operating without proper lawful authority, not qualifying for his role, and several recent decisions in federal court dismissed others from their positions for doing similar actions. So Durk's team wasn't just trying to say the indictment was bullshit, they're trying to get the top federal prosecutor in LA fired. A second motion to dismiss would be filed, and this time for the indictment being vague. His team would argue the indictment leaves them guessing as to the government's theory of guilt, and it leaves the government free to change that theory as its cooperator stories morph over time to meet the demands of a conviction. In other words, the feds haven't been specific, leaving Durk's team unable to attack specific things they're accusing him of. Because of that, anyone cooperating against Durk can easily be manipulated into saying what the feds can use to convict him. Everyone knows Durk has been charged with murder for hire, alleging he offered a bounty for the death of Quando Rondo. They'd further allege he used coded language that made it clear Quando's killer would receive money or money opportunities within OTF. Durk's legal team want to know when, where, and how the coded language was communicated. What were the rewards or opportunities promised for the murder? Durk is accused of directing men to fly to Los Angeles, track, stalk, and attempt to kill Quando. But when, where, how, and who did Durk give these directions to? Durk's team was demanding the specifics so they could specifically target and dismantle each one.
Okay.
Well, some new specifics did.
Okay, all right. I got the girls, so we're good. So, my bad. And I hate to cut off. I actually came back in 3 minutes, so that's good. Okay, so let me get back to this, right? Let me get back to this. I want to go through this motion, like, really, in a full way like we used to. And partly why I'm even doing this, I know a lot of y'all were dissatisfied with the lack of coverage or the lack of in-depth coverage, especially by the Diddy stuff, and especially at the end, right? Which, we took so much time to cover the whole case. We should have, so I apologize for that. Anyway, let's get back to it. So, remember, on face value, Dede wants to be tried separately from Durk. Not because he's telling. He wants to be tried because that's the connective tissue. You can't prove that Durk ordered this guy's death without these people involved. Remember, you need Vonnie because he bought the ski mask. He bought the gloves, right? He's the guy, right? He supposedly also got the guns. You need the co-conspirator because he gave the drop. They already got that person because they won't name him. You need Dede because he recruited 2 of the killers. You need all these people. Otherwise, it falls apart. If you can't connect Durk to the murderers, how did Durk do a murder for hire? Exactly. So Dede is very, very necessary. And by the way, I'll give you one even more. I think perhaps the reason why Durk isn't being charged and again, I'm not trying to throw charges on my guy. I like Durk. Everybody know I do. The reason why Durk, I think, is not being charged in Chicago for the murder of, they keep saying the murder of SM. That's Stefan Mack. That was supposedly a guy who was blamed for the murder of Durk's brother, which is D-Thing. And remember Durk in the song, yo, the day after my brother died, next day their ass was down 2. The feds think Durk orchestrated that murder. Like, they've mentioned it in the charging documents for those guys. One is Montgomery and A.J. Wilson, I think. I might be wrong with the names, but Montgomery and I think, no, it's not Wilson. It's Montgomery, and I forgot the other guy's name. So they have the shooters. Even in the indictment papers, they believe it's a murder for hire, but they don't charge the guys for the murder for hire. Why do I think they don't charge them with the murder for hire, but also why they didn't charge Durk? The reason why I think they didn't charge Durk is because whoever that middleman is either dead, not cooperating, or somewhere in the winds. Because they have some proof, and they're trying to introduce it in this case. Like, where they mentioned Durk supposedly saying, oh, let's go back to it. Where they mentioned where Durk supposedly said, yo, what's up with that money from OTF? That spells out murder for hire. But if you don't have the person who could attest to say they had the conversation with Durk to say, go kill them niggas, I'm going to give you that money, it's only speculation. So that's why I think Durk ain't charged in that Chicago murder. And people had speculated that he might be, but whoever that middleman is, I think is either, you know what I mean, playing paddleball with Juice WRLD or something. Which, that's what I was trying to say. And again, I wasn't wishing death on OTF Dede, but this is why I mentioned that idea of Batman, where it's like, in some of these conspiracies, they get rid of the middle guy. Which, by the way, we'll get into another case at another time. Some people believe that the shooting, listen to this, they believe the shooting of Sauce Walker and the killing of his artist in Memphis was that. They believe that the shooters got killed. Because allegedly one of the shooters got killed in Houston. People believe that the shooters who did that murder got whacked by the person who wanted the murder done. Why? Because now the shooters are dead. You can't link it back to the people who ordered the thing. Because if you catch the shooters are going to tell eventually or something. That's some theory. So again, you have to remember, like, we're in like this land of like only the crash out kills the person himself, right? Like, these guys have money now. These guys could do whatever. Like, shit. I was reading this one story, and this guy has actually been, I don't know if it's him directly, but he's been trying to like hit me up. You remember this guy? I don't have to pull him up, but you know the guy named YM Bape or something like that? He used to be like, yo, I'm banging on my chest. He's like the fuck Supreme guy or whatever. And like, he used to be run down on people. Like, apparently he got charged with murder for hire too. And actually convicted. And in his case, he paid like $2,000 for somebody to kill somebody. So like, you got to imagine, these guys are rappers. Like, why pick up a gun yourself? These guys are probably saying, yo, I got 10 bands on his head, man. Like, get this guy out of here. So people are taking that money. However, what happens is when these killers get caught, which they usually will, no matter how, like, these guys will think they're contract killers until, like, the feds want to investigate you. Like, they're going to figure out you in a second. And, now they're going to tell on you. So some people are hypothesizing that the way to do these things is you pay somebody to kill the nigga, and then after you pay somebody to kill the nigga, you kill the niggas who killed the niggas. I know, it sounds movie-ish, but it's the way you avoid exposure. Nobody could tell on you. And the only murder you got to worry about is the people who did it. Again, I hope not to encourage anyone's illegal actions. I'm trying to tell you what is being theorized. Okay? You get these are things are being theorized on how people are now trying to get away with murder, especially people with money. Okay, let's get back to this motion here. So it says, all right, so if Wilson was tried alone, all the evidence would be admissible as improper propensity evidence, but in a joint trial, the jury will be exposed to an avalanche of inflammatory materials, accounts of shootings, claim of bounties, and even Banks' confessions. Now, this is why some people think that he's going against Durk, because they're calling it Banks' confessions in lyrics. Again, obviously that's not a great look, but the lawyer for Dede is just trying to lean into the government's theories and try to clear Dede. But if you clear Dede, you clear Banks, low key, right? Against that evidentiary backdrop, Dede mere inclusion in group text would be easily blurred into guilt by association. This is precisely the danger the courts warn against when they caution jurors might impute the guilt of some defendants to other defendants. If the relevance could somehow be strained, Rule 403 dictates exclusion. Courts have recognized that when voluminous evidence against one defendant dwarfs the case against another, severance is necessary. And so they're saying, you have so much evidence against Durk, not enough against him, sever it, okay? Here, the disparity in evidentiary weight is dramatic. While Mr. Banks faced a case centered on violent conspiracies unfolding over 3 years, the government's allegations concerning Mr. Wilson amount to being copied on a text thread. So they're saying that the only evidence they got of Dede is being on a thread. So in a joint trial, the risk the jurors will conflate and collapse both narratives, which undermines the basic right of individualized guilt determinations. It says, it is too much to blah, blah. Okay, cool. It says, the introduction of irrelevant inflammatory evidence against Mr. Wilson could significantly undermine a strong defense. Accepting for the sake of argument that the government's allegations against Mr. Wilson is not strong, forcing Wilson to confront this extraneous evidence would allow the government to, okay. So let's keep going. So they want it severed. Then there's a declaration by his lawyer. And here's an exhibit, and here we find out a little bit of information. Now, check this out, chat. It says, Dear Counselor, discussed during the parties meet and confer on August 13th, we are writing to provide you with a preliminary notice pursuant to this of the evidence rules regarding the certain acts of that the government intends to prove at trial in the above reference matter. The government views the evidence described in Section 1 as a direct evidence and inextricably intertwined with the charges in the second superseding indictment, therefore not subject to note, blah, 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 blah. However, out of an abundance of caution, the government gives notice to With this letter, the government again requests all reciprocal discovery to which is entitled to blah, blah, blah. Now, here's the thing. Evidence related to Durk rivalry with Taekwon Bowman Quando Rondo. The government intends to produce or introduce evidence relating to Durk, motive, intent, and preparation, and plan in seeking revenge on Quando Rondo for Quando's involvement in the death of Devon Bennett, aka King Von, on or about November 6th, 2020, placing a bounty for Quando's death and conspiring to kill Quando in retaliation for Von's murder. He also directed his co-conspirators to track, stalk, and kill Quando in Blackshear, Georgia, on or about May 2nd, 2021. This evidence includes, but is not limited to, surveillance footage and also witness testimony related to the murder of Von in Atlanta, including the fight between Von and Quando prior to Von's death. Okay? Interesting. It says that there's surveillance footage and witness testimony related to the attempted murder of Quando in Blackshear on or about May 2nd. So the government believed that Durk tried to get him killed on May 2nd. It said defendant Banks' admissions show pressure he faced from fans to slide for Von, which means he had to exact revenge. It's not limited to only his lyrics from songs like Who Wants Smoke, but also where he says, they be on my page like slide for Von. I know they trolling me. Also, in defendant's statements in a podcast interview with DJ Akademiks on Off the Record. Off the Record in May 2023. By the way, also, I've seen Wack say this, and you know, I've never cared to address, but I want to clear it up now. When I did the interview with Durk, was not the time that the murder happened. I did do an interview with Durk in LA at the what hotel we did at? I forgot what it's called. Some high upscale hotel. It was not done at the same time of the murder. The murder was like August 2022. We did the interview at May 2023, and that's the reason why Durk actually said, you don't hear them saying slide for Vaughn no more, because allegedly the deed was already done. Okay? Allegedly. I just want to correct people who think that the timing was the same time I did. So even the feds admit it. I did an interview with Durk in May 2023. So specifically after being asked about this rivalry with Quando, his response to the interviewer's question about whether defendant Banks was triggered by Sly for Vaughn comments, he responded, for some reason, I just don't see them comments no more. For some odd reason. Might be the water. We've been here, though. We different in Iraq. So there's social media documenting the pressure fans placed on Banks to Sly for Vaughn. Comments on Banks' X account stating the voice in the moon pay what? And it says Rip King Vaughn. Okay. To the extent the court determines that these acts are neither direct evidence or intertwined with the charges in a second superseding indictment, these acts are admissible to show defendants' motive, intent, preparation, plan, and knowledge and identity and absence of mistake and lack of accident.